Happy week 7 of the high school football season, everybody. Simone, Eli, Gerhard, Mathangani joining you to recap a very exciting Friday night here along the Gulf Coast. Of course, we had some Thursday night games as well as teams make the turn, so to speak. You know, I'm using golf references since I played 18 holes of golf this morning.
How'd you play, by the way?
Really well. We shot 16 under.
Wow.
And I did drive it like 210. That was just straight up, no roll because it was soaking wet. So it didn't help my golf game. It probably didn't help a lot of offenses tonight.
16 under is great either way, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was 4 of us. It was a scramble, so it wasn't just myself. We went 16 under, guys. No worries on that. All right, more importantly, we're talking week 7 of the high school football season. A lot of huge games. Last week was that weird week where teams were playing non-region and everyone's just kind of like playing their crosstown foe, or they're like traveling to Birmingham or Florida or somewhere, but we don't care as much. But we got back to the nitty-gritty this week, and there's different categories of teams here. There's teams who are looking to take control in the region. There are teams who are looking to punch playoff tickets, teams that want to stay in contention for a playoff, and then folks trying to get back on track. Those are pretty much all the categories that you can cover. And our game of the week, G, was definitely the who is going to be in control of 4A Region 1.
Both teams were undefeated going into this game, and they would be undefeated overall had Jackson not said, hey, you know what, let's schedule one of the big boys in Class 6A.
That's a good point.
Saraland was their number 1 game. They ended up losing that game, obviously. So it's a battle of teams that were unbeaten in the region, St. Michael and Jackson. Jackson, the number 1 team, St. Michael, number 6, the highest they've ever been as a program. It's a program that's climbing up, but you understand, Simone, the reason why this Jackson team is the way that they are. They're unbelievable this year.
Yeah, they really are, and this was the scene. You were out there at St. Michael. Of course, Jackson coming to town to play Gunner Rivers and company and taking it right to this team on the road, looking as good as they do every single week.
Yeah, that's a nice play there by Landon Duckworth, the number 1 dual threat quarterback in America for the 2026 class. You saw the reason why. And then one of the top quarterbacks in the 27 class, Gunner Rivers, hitting Brody Jones. This has been a connection we've talked about all season long.
What a baller.
Game-tying touchdown there between those two. The momentum kind of going back the way of the Cardinals, but then in a moment, it goes right back the way of Jackson. Next possession, E.J. Crowell, top running back in the country. And I know we've said this a lot, but he continues to prove it each and every week. And he's got a Bama offer. He's got Ohio State, Michigan, every team in the country was looking for him for his services over the next couple of years. This is to me, it's a very undervalued weapon here. Not undervalued, maybe underappreciated on the large scope of things. Red Chapman, Keon Chapman, he's a big playmaker on the outside for Landon Duckworth. Does it again there, and then Jamarian Gordon with a touchdown here from Duckworth in the corner of the end zone. Duckworth, perfect placement on that football. Great catch there by Gordon as well. 27-10 at that point, and then another touchdown for Crowell. Gets into the end zone, and a huge play here for Jackson. I'll tell you, this might be the most impressive win so far this season. 55-16, Simone, against a very, very good St. Michael team.
Yeah, they came out firing. And I think that we knew when we talked to Cody Flournoy a week and a half ago, we went and honored Landon Duckworth as one of our Zaxby's players of the week. And you knew this team was just going to be on a mission. To St. Michael's credit, they're also just were totally dialed in when we were at practice earlier this week, previewing the game of the week, of course. And you could just tell that they mean total business. They were excited for us to be out there. I think that was rewarding for them. But it's never too high, never too low with this team. And I think that's part of why they're so successful.
I think singular focus is the way that I would describe this football team. And it reminds me a little bit, Simone, I know I'm going to do a cross-sport thing for a little bit, but it reminds me of Jackson basketball last year.
Yeah.
That turn from February to March when they were in the regional round and they were thinking state championship. They had the team to do it, and they felt laser-focused. It's the way that this football team feels, and there's a lot of players that play both. Landon Duckworth, obviously being one of them. E.J. Crowell is another one of those guys. Played JV last year. He'll play on the varsity this year. But this team right now seems to be on a mission, and they don't play up or down to anybody. I think the exact same effort we saw week 1 in Saraland, a game they lost, is the exact same effort we saw tonight against St. Michael to take control of Region 1.
Yeah, if you're just tuning in, this is Fifth Quarter Extra. Gerhard, Mathangani, Simone, Eli joining you. We also have our Facebook up, and so we are super excited to welcome everybody in. Keith Turner, always here every single week. Rodney Williamson, thanks for tuning in. Guys, let us know what game you are keeping an eye on this week, and any other games you want to hear a score of, see some highlights. We have 17 games of highlights that we are going to show tonight. So we're super pumped up about that. Want to get to Dwayne really quick, shouting out the score for the Bayside Hillcrest Evergreen. Yeah. We do appreciate the correction. We did say that it was 28-0 on the air, but Hillcrest did fall in that game to Bayside. It was a huge win for Bayside. It was 28-20 was the final score in that game. So thank you for that correction there, Dwayne. We appreciate it. All right, let's head over to Gulf Shores, where the Dolphins welcomed in St. Paul's, and want to give a special shout out to that young man right there. This has been a really up and down whirlwind story for Tyler Burkett, and he was out here on the field for Gulf Shores after beating cancer. So really just a powerful statement for him and his family and the Gulf Shores program to see him out there. Congratulations, and so happy to see him healthy. Here, St. Paul's back in the action here. St. Paul's goes up 7-0 there on the Anthony Frazier touchdown run. Then later, check this out, Judd Harris absolutely dials up the deep ball to his receiver. And if someone can tell me who that is, okay, because we've kind of gone back and forth on the roster. We don't. The number 2, it's not listed correctly on who that is. So we're not. Gerhard, we've gone back and forth on who we think that might be, but
right.
I don't want to just say that either. What are you thinking?
But we've also seen some mid-season changes as well. People, a jersey gets ripped, or a guy needs to wear a different number at the time, and so
and we don't know.
Sometimes we don't have the updated the guy on there.
They're saying it's Carter Bird, but I don't think that's Carter Bird.
Right.
It does not look like Carter Bird. So if someone can tell us who number 2 was tonight, who was wearing number 2 for Gulf Shores, that would be ideal. And all right, so later they're going to go 7-7 here at this point. Tate Johnston, however, for St. Paul's is going to help St. Paul's take the lead on this next drive. Take a look at this here. Of course, going to the Wildcat, the field's still recovering there at Gulf Shores. You can tell it's been rough going for the last couple of weeks after that torrential downpour that we had week 4 or 5 of the season. And so 14-7 at that point, and then later Harris, this time he is going to hit Nick Hampton. That makes it 14-all at that point. However, Gulf Shores is going to fall as St. Paul's continues to impress. And if this doesn't put this team in the top 10 rankings for 5A, I don't really know what will, but they're undefeated.
Yeah.
They won this game 26-14. And you have to tip your hat to Gulf Shores, their playmaking ability, what they were able to do getting on the board, because honestly, St. Paul just hasn't given up a lot of points. And so for them to win on the road in not perfect field conditions, I mean, just check all those boxes and come out with a win. They improved to 6-0 on the year.
6-0, yeah.
And so, man, right in the driver's seat. There's some big ones ahead.
Yeah.
Ham Barnett knows that, so all those guys know that for sure. They still have Sarah Land. They still have Spanish Fork, so that will definitely shape up that 6A Region 1, no doubt. But, man, I mean, what a position for St. Paul's to be in right now.
Yeah, if you're St. Paul's, you wanted to be in a position where you're going into those matchups with the heavy hitters, Gulf Shores, Saraland, Spanish Fork. You wanted to do that with as few losses as possible. 0 is as few as it gets, and they're able to do so. And you mentioned that defense coming into this game, and I know I've said it a couple of times here, so forgive me if you've heard this before. 0 points in 2 games, 7 points in another game. So that's 12 quarters and only 1 touchdown allowed. Add today's 2 touchdowns in here. We're going 16 quarters with 3 touchdowns allowed. Ham Barnett's defense is really coming up to play, but shout out to Gulf Shores as well because they played well offensively. St. Paul just a little bit too much tonight.
All right, and we are getting this comment here that number 2 is Carter Davis.
Davis.
Great. All right, so Carter Davis.
Yeah. So not Carter Bird,
thank you so
Carter
much
Davis.
to Lawrence Roberts for that. We did not have a roster that was correct. We did not feel, and so we're excited. Carter Davis, he got behind the defense there for Gulf Shores, an absolutely fantastic play there for the Dolphins. All right, we're going to jump down a little bit and talk about one of the Cinderella stories, if you will, so far this season in the Orange Beach Makos. 4 in a row for Wade Waldrop and company. And guys, the Makos are headed to the postseason after winning 1 game last year, Gerhard. Incredible.
This is just a fun story here. And this is, like you said, a program that basically wanted and needed just kind of a reason to believe in themselves. They got Wade Waldrop in. He's done a phenomenal job. You could tell that there's a lot of energy behind this program right now. They're able to get their first touchdown, James Key, on a pick 6, a short yardage touchdown as well. They've gone to Andrew Beck there a million times so far this season. Coach Waldrop's defense is playing lights out right now. Got another interception there at midfield. This is a really good Orange Beach football team that, in my opinion, is just they're feeling good no matter what. So when their defense is out there, they're making plays. When their offense is out there, they're making plays. They've even made a few on special teams as well. Also, a big shout out here to Escambia County, who played well at the end of the first half. This is LeBron Wills on a touchdown run here on a fumble, a scoop and score. 14-6 was the score at the half, but Orange Beach pulls away to win it 38-6. So James Key, Blake Brunick, as well as a huge play by Brennan Julian. Wanted to shout out those names making the plays there from tonight's football game. But Coach Wade Waldrop, you got a hat tip.
You got to be excited, man.
Because there's been a lot of changes there, and we've seen what they've pledged to the school and the facility that they're building.
No doubt.
And the product on the field right now is matching that excitement.
Yep. Shout out to Tammy Bass, always tuning in. And we appreciate the love every single week. So congratulations to the Makos. All right, we got a question here. Someone asked if KJ played for Saraland. Let's jump down to the Saraland highlights. They welcomed in Baldwin County. KJ did not play for Saraland tonight. He's out injured. Kind of some behind the scenes information that I'm being told is that he's going to be good moving forward. I think that Saraland knows that they're going to need KJ later on down the road. This guy, however, stepped right in, Gerhard.
Yeah, it's Jamison Roberts, and you'll see him here. Is a nice run right here, and this is a good chance to talk about this young man for a second because Roberts has really stepped in, and
he's a sophomore.
They say exactly. They say next man up, and they have a next man up mentality here at Saraland, and he's done a great job so far, as has Deshaun Spencer, who is one of their two running threats, and this is a great play from Deshaun Spencer. I poked a little fun of this on the air.
In a good way.
Just, we've seen Ryan Williams in Tuscaloosa. Have you ever watched him on those long touchdown runs? He does this little kind of premature where he takes his mouthpiece out right before he scores. I love that from Deshaun Spencer, from last year's number one to this year's number one.
It's like a little hat tip to the old number one there. I love that.
Exactly.
Honestly, so.
And now that we have these extended highlights, you'll see here, watch this touchdown celebration between Spencer and one of his offensive linemen, number 51. This is also a little reminiscent of what we've seen from Tuscaloosa.
Oh, man. I love it.
And so, obviously, Coach Jeff Kelly's bunch doing a really good job of dialing in, and their playmakers, they've been making plays all year long. A guy like Sante McWilliams will score here on their next drive. New guys that are stepping up like Jamison Roberts. It seems like the synergy right now is in a really good place for Saraland, looking to go back to the state championship game for a third straight year.
Yeah, if you're Jeff Kelly, and Jeff Kelly's a great coach. Obviously, he was a quarterback in the college level, played at Southern Miss, and was elite in his own right, and so a great play caller. But his job is pretty much don't mess it up. And so go in there and let your athletes do what they do because, wow, they are loaded and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So definitely a huge win for Saraland as they stay undefeated. And some big games ahead for them, too. Of course, that one with St. Paul's, I don't know what week it's going to come. But
we'll find that out.
We'll look it up in just a minute. But.
Yeah, that's going to be a great one. And for anybody who might think that after number 9, KJ Lacey, walks across the stage with his diploma and thinks that Saraland might have a fall off, Jamison Roberts is saying, no, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, let's head over to Baker in Class 7A Region 1, where don't count out the Baker Hornets, guys. Senior night over here for Juan Johnson and company. And welcoming in Robertsdale, and check this out, guys. This team is really hitting on all cylinders under a new coaching staff and a new regime. Going to pull up these highlights, but they get it going on the ground there. That was Robinson in, and then later Tremere Lett, man. Tremere Lett is our guy. We've only been calling someone else Tremere Lett for half the season. Now we actually, take the quarterback naturally. But that's the real Tremere Lett. And he plays defense, and he dang sure does play defense. Because take a look at this play right here. It's one of our plays of the week. The scoop and score. And sometimes, Gerhard, the ball just goes where you need it to go.
Yep.
And, then he heads to the house. So a huge play there for Tremere Lett and for Baker. Look at this, coordination and this. These dance moves, I love that for them.
Yeah, I think that it's one of those things in the hallway, maybe between your second and third period or fourth and fifth block.
What do y'all want to do tonight, just in case we get a 70-yard scoop and score? What's the plan?
Hey, you got to be prepared for everything. And coaches always say, hey, situational preparedness, and that's exactly what they had. And shout out to Baker and all these guys. And I love the fact that we're able to see a little bit of this personality. And obviously, you don't want it to go too far, but I think everybody's doing it in a great place right now. And we're seeing these synchronized dance moves, which has been awesome.
Which I thought was a penalty. And I'm not trying to stomp on everybody's parade. I thought it was a penalty, though.
I thought it was too. And I think just like in the NFL, they're relaxing it a little bit as long as you don't taunt your opponent. I think if you're doing it with your team, they're just letting it happen.
They're letting the kids have fun, which is what they should do. Yeah. Okay, great stuff. All right, let's head over to Daphne and Davidson over there at Daphne, where two teams, battling for potential playoff position. I think Davidson looking to get back in the win column after a couple of tough losses, but Daphne doing kind of what they do best here on the ground at first. Listen, this was a play that actually didn't make our error, but this is why I love fifth quarter extra, because we can show some plays that are behind the scenes. Both players here got called for a penalty because they both grab each other's face masks. Look at this. He's like, oh, you're going to grab my face mask? I'm going to grab yours too.
You don't see that often. Great shot by our guys.
Yeah, it definitely was. That was Jason Garcia there on that. Okay, how about Thibodeau? And hats off to the family of Thibodeau here. We appreciate y'all letting me know that I've been saying that wrong, because honestly, we want to know those things. And so he's in a great read there by the Daphne quarterback, and he's in for the touchdown. Later, this is more Daphne getting it done. Eventually, Davidson would also get into the end zone, but Daphne's going to win this game 34-13. And, man, Kenny King's crew winning when they need to. I think that they know this is crunch time at this point, Gerhard. They know that, hey, like, we need to battle. We need to pick up a couple key wins here. They're going to play Alma Bryant next week. And so it's becoming that time in the season where you can kind of clinch that playoff spot.
Right.
You just right here, only in week 7 and 8. And so it's kind of one of those, hey, let's try to get this out of the way so we don't have to worry about it later.
Yeah, and I think right now for football teams that are on the borderline, you obviously want to be able to clinch your spot, but then you want one of those top 2 seeds to be able to play that first game at home, and whatever it takes to be able to get one of those, or at least stay alive for them before the run at the end of the season. And so, obviously this game played there's obviously so much more to be played in Class 7A Region 1, but that one, well, I think we'll play big as we look at this coming up in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I think that when you look at 7A Region 1, obviously MGM, Baker, both undefeated in region play. They're in control right now, and Daphne probably sitting there at 3-4. All right, another big-time team who is looking to make a deep playoff run is the Viger Wolves, who remain undefeated after a win over Alberta.
Yeah, this is obviously a Viger team that going into this game probably understood that, hey, they probably just have a couple more athletes, and we're going to win the football game. You want your guys to stay focused, and a great job for Coach Nate McDaniel and this Warrior football team continuing to play with effort. A great play here, a nice kind of back shoulder throw there for another Viger
Sammy
touchdown.
Dunn, Jamarian Osborne.
Yeah, Osborne, obviously, and Dunn doing it all season long. But this is a Viger football team that I think they understand what's ahead in the next couple of weeks as they get a really, really good Williamson team, and that should be a really fun matchup. Yeah,
the top 2 defenses in Class 5A in the state right now. Williamson number 1, allowing less than 6 points per game, and Viger right behind them. I mean, with the shutout win over Alberta today, they're certainly in control on both sides of the field. All right, moving down to a huge game in 5A Region 1 as Citronelle welcomed in UMS Wright. Both teams trying to vie for that 3-4 spot behind Williamson and Viger. And, well, Citronelle in control now.
Defense was the key here, Simone. Kaylin McCovery with the interception here and takes it all the way back. So a great return would set up the first touchdown of the day for Citronelle, an early 7-0 lead in this one. Defense once again stepping up, a nice sack here by Zachary Morgan of Citronelle. And even when Bo Wills, who was one of our Zaxby's Player of the Week winners a little bit ago, just short of the sticks there, and the defense comes up big. This is James Reed coming up big with the fumble recovery for the touchdown there on the attempted putt by UMS Wright. This is another game, I think, Simone, in Class 5, and we look at the way that one's playing a part, and Williamson, Viger obviously sitting there in the top 2. You're wondering who 3-4 is. That might be 3-4. We don't know, but the two teams there.
I feel strongly that'll be 3-4. If you look, I mean, they beat BC Rain, LaFleur, all those teams in 5A at this point are kind of on the outside looking in, Alberta as well. And so certainly Williamson and Viger are in control of that region, but Citronelle and UMS right there at 3-4 at this point. Jeremy Hackett, appreciate the comment there saying, you hate to add an L to my weekly pick.
So Jeremy Hackett not only cheering for his Wildcats, he's also, hey, you know what, taking a little jab at your picks there.
Okay, well, you know what would be taking a jag if I had picked against UMS? It's Terry, because he's always like picking against us again. And
but I think the score of that game, the final score of that game, is reminiscent of the way this region will play out.
Yeah.
The score, it was a 1-touchdown game. 14-7 was the final score. Yeah. And I think this just shows how razor thin these margins will be between all 4 of these playoff spots.
Yeah, appreciate the smiles there, Jeremy. But no doubt Coach Rowell doing some big things, and he's really turned around that program. His alma mater, a place that he just, you can tell is near and dear to his heart, because he certainly you can tell he's taking extra care of this team and these guys for sure. All right, let's jump up to 7A now, talking Fairhope hosting Foley tonight. These two teams, when you talk about 3 and 4, these two teams are certainly fighting for 3 and 4. Fairhope has not been the Fairhope that we have seen maybe in the past decade or so, in the last couple of years. And so Tim Carter has won a lot of football games. He knows exactly what to do when it's crunch time. And on the other end, Derek Scott has had a lot of athletes in and out of his program over the last couple of years. And so this one kind of was back and forth for a little while, but eventually Fairhope going to take control here.
Yeah, they made the big plays down the stretch, and you'll see them here as Fairhope got on the board first, an early 7-0 lead, and then Foley ends up getting on the board as Nelson Thompson hits Ryan Palladino in the end zone. So that's your game-tying score. We're all knotted up at 7, and nobody would have thought there that that's where Foley's scoring would end in this football game. The ensuing kickoff, a kickoff return for a touchdown. This is Desmond Thomas, the senior, on the kickoff return for the score, and that, Simone, I think, provided the momentum that they needed. Got a 14-7 lead, and they never looked back after that. 30-7 was the final score as Fairhope got a big win there at home. And you mentioned that 3-4, so the seeding might be huge in this one as Fairhope got the big win there, made all the plays late there. And Taylor Boyson, one of our photographers, she said it in the moment.
She was very excited about that kickoff return.
And I think she obviously knew, being there in the moment, you kind of understand when the momentum shifts on a dime. And it certainly did, because Foley did not score after that. Fairhope went on to get the big win.
Yeah, and plays like that, and when it comes to special teams, really do make the difference. And also, shout out to the lights at Fairhope, because I did not know they added that in there. We don't always get to go out to games, and so we get these highlights back, and every time they score, the lights go they flash like the college lights. So that's kind of neat. I love that. So Fairhope gets a big win. It definitely keeps them in contention for one of those 4 playoff spots in 7A Region 1. And again, I don't want to be premature in saying how things are going to shake out. To be honest with you, I also don't know exactly who's all played who. I mean, some games kind of stick in the back of our minds. But when you get 7 weeks in, you stop memorizing every single week and every single victory. I can tell you who beat who. I just have to really think about it. But it's MGM and Baker undefeated in that region right now. They're kind of in control. Fairhope, Foley, and Daphne right there fighting for that 3 and 4 spot, kind of is how it's shaping up right now.
Yeah, I think we knew that going into the season that 1 and 2 would probably be the powerhouses of the region, but 3, 4, 5, and even possibly 6, between 3, 4, and 5. There was going to be a good football team that's left out of the playoffs, and those spots are big, and these games are pivotal towards that.
Yeah, it's just play by play. I mean, every single week we see those plays that totally change the momentum of a game. There's no question about that. All right, we are going to go over to Blunt now, where the Leopards welcomed in Spanish 4. And how about our guy 9-Volt getting it done here on the ground, G?
We learned about this nickname during Mobile Media Days. It is Lazarius Johnson, 9-Volt, as they call him, because he provides the energy. A 35-yard touchdown run got the scoring started for.
You could call me that.
Blunt. You know what? We will. I'll start calling you 9-Volt.
That'd be nice. And then later it's EJ King.
Yeah.
And listen, man, he's here. There's no question that he is a downhill runner. He's a big body, and he's very, very hard to stop. But offensively, this Spanish 4 team is led by this guy here, signal caller Aiden Schamberger. He was one of our Zaxby's Player of the Week for Week 1 of the season, connecting with one of his several targets. This time it was Nemo Hickson on the receiving end. It was 21-6 at that point. Spanish 4 is going to dominate this game, 42-12. And I think if you're Spanish 4, you're excited about where you're at. I think you've always I think you know that right now you're that one level just underneath Saraland in 6A Region 1, but still incredibly competitive. I mean, it really is Saraland, Spanish 4, St. Paul's. Yeah. Just kind of in the mix for those 3.
Yep.
Who's going to be at 4? Yeah. It's a toss-up. I mean, what's Theodore doing?
Right. And obviously Theodore, got a win today as well. Got a big win over Murphy.
That was a rhetorical question.
I mean, just But we could do the transitive property thing where this team beat this team, this team beat this team, and so we'll see how everything shakes out. But
today they beat Murphy, but so did everybody else. So let's get to those highlights right quick. But here's Theodore and Murphy over at Ladd Stadium. And when we got here, this game was already kind of out of hand, and then it got out of hand in the way where nobody was actually taking care of the ball, and so it was 31-6. I think was the final in this game, or at least it was at this point.
Yeah, 33-6, 33-7. I think was the final score there.
A bunch of turnovers when we got there, but the Bobcats in control quickly, and then they end up winning this game over Murphy to, this is significant wins for this team. Don't want to count out the fact that McGill-Tulane is also right there in the mix in this game. They didn't play tonight, so they just weren't on the top of my brain right now talking about 6A Region 1, but they're certainly right there in the mix for that number 4 spot too.
Yeah, and to answer your previous question about Saraland, St. Paul's. You don't got to wait long, Simone. It's next week.
Next?
It's Friday.
All right. Well,
it's Friday night.
Where?
That game is at St. Paul's.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
St. Paul Saraland next week.
it's
And we will see if the pollsters have St. Paul's. This should be a top 10 matchup. If you and I have,
we're going to call it that.
You and I have votes. We would put St. Paul's in the top 10 in Class 6A. Obviously, they've done a heck of a job this year. So 2 unbeaten teams meeting next week over at St. Paul's.
Yeah. Carter, appreciate your comment. And listen, no hate towards Murphy at all. Listen, there are teams that I care a lot about that have lost a lot of football games this year. And so no hate towards Murphy, and hoping the best for the Panthers as they move forward. This is a proud program that's won a lot of football games, no question. Coach Lambert in there you never want to see a high school football coach get fired in the middle of the season. He comes in an interim job, and he's got to play the hand that he's dealt. And that's kind of the case with everybody in high school football. But when you come in late, middle of the season, something like that, you got kids that are discouraged because they haven't won a lot of games. You have to remember this is a team that's playing in the most competitive region in high school football in the state, no doubt about that. And so if you're frustrated with your Murphy Panther, understandable, but like you said, you pray and you hope that things can turn around and things can improve as you go. Yeah,
you think you knocked on it. I think the losses feel a little exasperated in this region because, as you mentioned, it's the toughest region.
Yeah.
You could probably put Murphy in some regions. I won't call them out, but some regions a little bit north of here that they might be a playoff team in those regions. It just feels a little bit worse here. But if you're a Murphy Panther, this is a great program. It's put a lot of guys in college, in the NFL. I expect them to be right back where they were very soon. Right now, it's just those growing pains between now and that point.
Yeah, one of the teams in our area that is totally in control right now is Williamson. Like we mentioned earlier in the show, Williamson currently boasts the #1 ranked defense in 5A, and a shutout victory Thursday night over Faith Academy just continued to prove what it is that they're capable of, G.
Another Thursday night game, and I think what makes this team so impressive is that Antonio Coleman has them really locked in, not just on offense, but also on defense. You see their scores, and they won Thursday night 63-0. They've put up 50-plus multiple times. But Simone, it's not always their offense just going up and down the field. They get help from their special teams. They get help from their defense on
certainly from the
pick sixes and scooping scores. Our first defensive player for Zaxby's Player of the Week, a defensive guy first time this year, and Taj Overton, the Arkansas commit, coming up big last week on defense and on special teams. There you see Alvin Dinkins with a nice play there
beautiful pitching catch,
to John Austin. This is a football team that can beat you in so many different ways.
And they are. I mean, they are beating teams in every single way. It's as dominant as I have seen a Williamson team since I've covered this program in the last 12 years.
Yeah, and you go back to last year when they won, 4 games?
Yeah, and Antonio Coleman, of course, wasn't there for a lot of those games because he was out, had to have surgery himself, dealing with some health issues. And so for them to bounce back in this type of way and to bring in the staff members that they have and just get these guys rolling in the way that they have, I mean, you got to tip your cap because I'm telling you, 2 weeks from now, we're going to be sitting on this show talking about one of the biggest matchups in high school football that we have seen on the Gulf Coast in a hot minute. When Williamson and Viger go head-to-head at Ladd Stadium. It's supposed to be in Pritchard. It's a Viger home game. But MCPSS moving the game to Ladd to accommodate the amount of people that are interested in this game, of course, security, all the things that come with that. And so Viger's still going to be the home team. They're still going to get the gate and all that just in terms of the logistics behind the scenes. But I think that when games get moved to Ladd and in this type of situations, you know why, and it's because it's a huge game for sure. Yeah,
Williamson. Let me just throw out some stats for you. Williamson is averaging 40-something points per game. They're giving up 5. I think Viger will score a little bit more than 5 next week. Who knows though? That defense has been incredible.
I mean,
But Williamson's defense, back-to-back shutouts, 110-0. We talked about this at the beginning of the season when they were outscoring their opponents, million to nothing as well. The Viger offense with Sammy Dunn, John McKenzie calling the plays. We talked about Osborne, their wide receiver, their good offensive line against Williamson's defense. That is the matchup to watch when those two teams hook up.
It's going to be a matchup for sure. All right, we have some questions about T.R. Miller. Yes, the Tigers did win to stay undefeated on the season. And here early on, both teams gathered, I want to pause this moment here, gathered in prayer at Cottage Hill for Ken Lett, who of course was injured last week. The Tigers player suffered a broken neck against UMS Wright, and we have received consistent progress updates, and it seems like he is progressing in a good direction, and he's bigger than anything. He's staying very encouraged, and you can tell he has the support of teams that they go up against. They have the support of people at UMS Wright, I think, who has visited him in the hospital, including head coach Terry Curtis. And so T.R. Miller, very just, you can tell this is a spirited program. They have a lot to play for. They're the number one ranked team in the state for good reason. These two guys, Nathan Commander, Eli Hubbard, big playmakers for them, and really playing for their brother now in Ken Lett, who was injured last week. And so everything clicking on all cylinders for the Tigers. Here you'll see a defensive play here by T.R. Miller to kind of set them up in perfect field position. And so the Tigers rolling against an undermatched Cottage Hill program at this point. I mean, T.R. Miller's won a lot of football games. They're the winningest program in the state for good reason. But you'll see this here. T.R. Miller scores to extend their lead in the first quarter. A little bit later, Cottage Hill going to get things going, and Shamar Tootle connecting up on the deep ball. A beautiful pass from the true freshman there to Thomas to set them up in good field position. And then the older of the three Tootles, I guess this is the middle brother, Shadarius Tootle, in on the direct snap and in for the touchdown. The Auburn commit there is going to score. But T.R. Miller does get the big win. They are undefeated and the number one ranked team in the state for 3A for a good reason.
Yeah, they certainly are. And this is, I think, a T.R. Miller team. You look up and down the Class 3A top 10. You have, obviously, Mars Hill, Piedmont, two legacy programs that are in the top 10. Thomasville coming in number 4. So who knows what that could look like moving on to the future. But that moment that you paused, I think, was great because it was so reminiscent of what we saw last week at Cooper Stadium. The prayers for Ken Lett. But just like we talked about with other teams that feel focused, that feel inspired, I feel like this Tiger team is playing inspired football right now. Coach Brent Hubbard and company doing a very good job of being able to understand they're playing for their brother and be able to translate that to the field, and they've done so now in back-to-back weeks.
Totally agree. Up the road at Mobile Christian, the Leopards welcoming in the Crusaders of Pensacola Catholic, one of the few teams in our area who were playing non-region and, not even in the same state, actually. So kind of just their luck of the draw. It really is a draw. They're kind of bye week. But Pensacola Catholic scored early in this game. And then a guy by the name of P.J. Brown, we've seen him make several plays and kind of just waits for the right moment to take off on this kickoff return. A great return here by P.J. Brown all the way to the house for the touchdown. But Mobile Christian going to fall into this game. And I think for a team that was ranked in the top 10 early kind of to start the year, not exactly going as the way they would have hoped, having come off that state championship from a year ago. But a lot of season left to be played for sure. And, of course, I mean, they fall tonight against a non-region, a team not even in the state, but still a lot to be proud of, a lot to be encouraged about when it comes to this Mobile Christian team because there's a lot of football left to be played.
Yeah, I think Coach Charles Lawson has done a good job of being able to rally this team. They lost a lot of offensive linemen from last year's bunch. They lost a wide receiver in Aaron Rodgers. I know they have the quarterback back, Damian Gaston, who won the state championship MVP. P.J. Brown, as you mentioned, a really good player as well. But they lost Kentonio Kelly, one of their main linebackers, and the back of the year in Class 3A. They move up a classification as well. So some hurdles and some obstacles for this bunch. But as you said, a lot of football on the horizon. But a big shout out to Pensacola Catholic, who ended up getting that win.
For sure. I want to go to more Thursday night football, where before we do that, let's go to Satsuma and W.S. Neal really quick. That was a Friday night game. This was this evening. Of course, Satsuma welcoming in W.S. Neal. Braxton Bird going to connect with his receiver here to make it 6-0 in this game. I'm going to get the names on this one. That's Braden Williams. Made it 6-0 Satsuma at that moment. Eagles would get on the board. Jaden Ewing here. The 2-point conversion gives them an 8-6 lead at that point. The Satsuma defense is going to strap down with Duncan Reed on the interception. This one went down to the wire. We'll find out, kind of play that Monday morning quarterback type deal when you find out how games actually all turned out. But W.S. Neal is going to win this game, a heartbreaker for Satsuma and a big one for the Eagles. 32-26, the final there in Satsuma. Gators fall at home. And so W.S. Neal gets victory there. When I look at some Thursday night games, of course, one of the biggest team, one of the best teams in 7A, not only in this area, but also in the state, is Mary G. Montgomery. Zach Golson and company have been absolutely dominant. G and here playing Alma Bryan on Thursday night. They dump it off here and a big touchdown to give them momentum in this game. Alma Bryan, credit to him, hung around for a little while. I think it was 7-0, 8-0, something like that in the first quarter. But, man, Shondell Harris and these guys are just absolute ballers here. Backup quarterback is in, a defensive play by Alma Bryant. But at the end of the day, MGM just totally just the better of these two teams right now.
Yeah, I think MGM has so many players that can come up and make plays for them. You talked about Shondell Harris. They also have Shamar Elston, who's done a phenomenal job this season. And then on this interception, a pick 6 for Caleb Morris.
Is it ever?
So this is a very good football team that is not resting on everything they did last year. This is
you can see me somewhere crying in the background of this highlight, I think.
Obviously, I think
I'm just teasing.
I think these two teams, obviously, going into the season, knowing that MGM was returning a lot of those guys. Think about John Stevens and those guys on the offensive line. Zach Golson has done a good job of being able to tell this team, hey, you did good, and then now what? And now they're working on that now what, and taking that next step. And as you mentioned, there's another big game on the horizon there with the Hornets.
Yeah, absolutely. Another Thursday night game that nobody knew was being played on Thursday, by the way.
Snuck up on everybody.
This was among the most strange things I've ever seen. I got to call Coach Yeldon about this. But BC Reign beat LaFleur pretty handedly. Let me find that score. In a game that nobody knew got moved to Thursday, including people that work for Mobile County Public Schools. So the final in that game was 41-18. And I found out sometime in the middle of the fourth quarter that they were playing that night. Me, Ben Thomas of AL.com, I think our other television media member friends also did not know that game got moved.
Yeah.
And so we don't have those highlights, but no fault of our own, guys.
Yeah,
but a good win for BC Reign.
Good win for BC Reign. Kind of slipped through the cracks there. Hope they had a nice crowd out there. But yeah, it kind of was one of those where
the fan base knew. I mean, they didn't let us know. Got
past everybody.
It did. Not much gets past when it comes to scheduling and things like that. Another Thursday night game, Bayshore Christian hosting Washington County, and Bayshore, of course, in their first varsity season, we've seen some ups, we've seen some downs, and it's kind of those growing pains a little bit. Washington County looking like a well-oiled machine behind this guy, number one, man.
Colton Loper gets the scoring started here for the Bulldogs.
90 yards
and
to the hizzy.
90 yards. And you mentioned Coach Phil Lazenby and his group. This is a starter football season. They got their first win. They played their first home game. A lot of the milestone victories have happened, but just like every program, you have to go through some ups and some downs. And congratulations and hat tip to Washington County. This is Trace Smith. I remember that for the highlights from yesterday, being able to come up with a kickoff return for a touchdown, a big 44-21 victory. But if you're Bayshore Christian, this is number one, year one. But two, everything is new, and so far they've been able to handle it and just keep it going. But good playing by Washington County, getting another big region win in Class 2A Region 1.
We are nearing the midnight point. We're almost Saturday as we turn the page to college football. Before we do, I want to just recap some of the games that will be back on the replay when this posts right after the show, and look at a few other scores really quick. But our game of the week was a huge one in 4A Region 1, where Jackson is in total control now of that region and, honestly, probably Class 4A in the state. There's a reason that the Aggies are number one in the state. They looked every bit of it behind E.J. Crowell tonight against a very, very talented St. Michael team. But at the end of the day, the Aggies rolled in that game, the final score of 55-16.
Yeah, this Jackson team is number one. I think they're in a really good headspace from an overall perspective, understanding what the mission is. But this, to me, Simone, is probably the most impressive win because they did it against a team that's not only ranked but in their region, that has some momentum. Phillip Rivers and company will have a fine season. They'll have a great season and probably add another milestone to their young history. But Jackson right now playing on a different level. Yeah,
they definitely are. And Tammy Bass let us know that Jackson and Orange Beach will play next Thursday.
That's
so looking forward to that matchup. All right, Gulf Shores falls to St. Paul's as the Saints stay undefeated and gear up for a huge battle that will probably be a top 10 matchup as they play host to Saraland, the number one team in Class 6A. It'll be interesting to see if KJ Lacey is back next week. I think that was just a matter of where's he at? I don't think there was ever a matter of is he going to be out for the season. That was never the case. It's just a matter of what's his progress like health-wise. have a feeling if he can go, he's going to be on the field for that game.
I'm sure.
Yeah. In 5A, Citronelle beats UMS, a huge game for Citronelle to stay right there in the 3 spot, so to speak, for the playoff positioning. UMS, they're kind of at the 4 if you think about just how it's kind of shaping up at this moment, but they get a close victory, 14-7 over Terry Curtis and company. And an important note, by the way, that we learned that Terry Curtis was passed tonight for the winningest coach in the state.
That's right. Deadlocked at 357 career wins with Central Clay County coach Danny Horn, who also, of course, coached at Clay County High School for a really long time. A lot of people who've kept up with high school football in this state know Danny Horn's name. Those two, I have to go back and look at the stats, how many championships have won between those. But with Central Clay winning tonight over, I believe it was Elmore County, and with UMS's loss today, Danny Horn goes up 1 game over Terry Curtis. So both Hall of Famers, and I know they know each other.
They got a lot of respect for each other.
Really
they played each other.
Yeah, they played each other last year
in the playoffs.
Last year in the playoffs. That's exactly right.
So weird game.
So Danny Horn goes 1 up, but this could be a situation where they keep going back and forth with one another.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
We'll see. We will see how that one shapes up. TR Miller stays undefeated as they beat Cottage Hill. Fairhope beats Foley, a big game for Fairhope. As they are right there in contention for a playoff spot. Baker stays undefeated in region play with a win over Robertsdale. Spanish Fort beats Blunt on the road. Toro's looking really good, especially on offense. Viger beats Alberta in 5A to stay in control, really, of where their destiny, so to speak.
Yeah.
That big game against Williamson a couple of weeks from now. Orange Beach officially punches their ticket to the playoffs as they beat Escambia County and hat tip to the Makos because they won 1 game last year. Wade Waldrop and company have come in and just really, really getting that thing going.
I think when you honored Coach Wade Waldrop as our coach of the week a couple weeks ago, there was probably some head scratching, like, hey,
there was actually.
And I think I want to say, hey, congratulations to you for forecasting that. Not only the win that week, but you also knew that the tide has turned, not to make a beach reference over there about just the way that the water is going. But I'll tell you what, this Makos program it seems to be that they have a you could tell it's a refound enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And they're doing it both ways. Doing it on offense, doing it on defense as well. Got a pick 6, got another interception in our highlights tonight against Escambia County. Really getting it done. And Coach Wade Waldrop right now, his team on cloud 9, knowing they'll be playing in the postseason.
For a good reason, for sure. They will come in Jackson on Thursday. That's going to be a tough battle. Jackson looks really good. Mobile Christian falls to Pensacola Catholic out of region play. Theodore beats Murphy. Satsuma falls to W.S. Neal. Big win for the Eagles. And from Thursday night, Williamson beats Faith. MGM beats Alma Bryant. Washington County tops Bayshore. Don't want to forget to mention that Bayside Academy beat Hillcrest Evergreen tonight, 28-20.
It's a big win,
and that is a huge win. For the Admirals. I wonder if everybody was at full health, and I don't say that in any knock on the Admirals at all.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, Hillcrest Evergreen was a team that was just on the outside of being in the top 10 just a couple weeks ago when they were playing TR Miller. Yeah,
neck and neck with TR Miller in that football game just a couple weeks ago. I think 33-28 was the final score, so only ended up winning by less than a touchdown. So this is a really good win for Coach Barrett Trotter and company as they look to gain some momentum. But we talked about how Orange Beach has already punched one of those playoff spots. Jackson, you already know, has done so. So can Bayside make some noise and probably get a little bit of outside help to be able to get one of those spots as well? That's a huge, huge win there. Yeah, we will certainly see. I mean, listen, full health, not full health. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. Win's a win. We'll take it for them. And listen, Hillcrest, they Coach Norride has done a great job over there as well. So there's nothing is won, nothing is lost here in week 7 of the season. For sure. JU Blackshirt gets the victory over St. Luke's 50-9, and Thomasville beats Thorsby. I can't see that score, but I've had it up a little bit ago. But they beat Thorsby, number 5 ranked team in Class 3A. Yeah, I should make a quick correction. I was talking about the 4A teams, but the 3A teams. XL was that 4th team there in Class 3A. So you have TR Miller, as you mentioned, Hillcrest Evergreen, who played that great game in our game of the week. So Bayside getting this win is really huge to be able to claim one of those top 4 spots there. XL looking like to be the team that's on the outside looking in, and Cottage Hill probably maybe with some help if they can squeeze in, that'd be great as well. So we always love the reclass year. We are one of the reclass. You always have to remember who moves where, along with the transfer players and everything else. Exactly. A lot of moving, lots to keep up with.
All right, guys. Listen, it's been a super fun week 7 of the high school football season, and want to thank all of our crew here at WKRG News 5. They've been absolutely killing it on fifth quarter, week in and week out. Had 17 games, I think, this week. We've been averaging more than probably 15 or 16 every single Friday. And so really, really proud to bring you the best high school football coverage along the Gulf Coast. I want to thank producer Pat behind the scenes who works diligently to get all of our content up on the web. His great work does not go unnoticed, that is for sure. And Gerhard Mathangani,
hey,
you're pretty great too.
Another week in the books. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you're pretty great as well.
Shut up. All right, guys, listen, we're super excited to keep things rolling. It's going to be another huge week as the region starts to really take shape in the back half of the high school football regular season. We will join you again for week 8 and look forward to several more games here on Fifth Quarter Extra. For Gerhard, producer Pat, everybody here at WKRG, I'm Simone Eli, and we'll see you next week.